Hello, welcome back to Vondel Pete. And in today's very short video, I thought I would attempt to explain why I'm not more woo-woo, why I'm not more hippy-dippy. So a lot of people may think that I'm quite hippy-dippy. I mean, I seem like a pretty open-minded guy. I used to be described as open-mindo when I lived in Japan. That's what Mana-san used to say to me. I would say to everyone at 3 in the morning when we were all gathered around this little kitchen table, me and some Japanese people like Yuri and Nao-san, for example. You would tell them in Japanese, like, Peter-san is open-mindo. Unlike you, Nao-san, he would then go and point at the young 20-year-old Nao-san who was studying law. Mana-san said, "You are not open-minded." Well, he said it in Japanese, but even though I'm an open-minded guy, I'm an INFP personality type, I don't seem particularly traditional. I seem a bit arty. But why am I not more hippy-dippy? I'm into Myers-Briggs. I've discussed astrology. Why am I not more spiritual? Why don't I like properly get behind hippy-dippy woo-woo sort of ideas? You know, I've made a video about visiting the grave of Jesus in Japan, and I seem pretty open to that, and yet when people leave comments on those videos telling me to read this particular book about, you know, all this mysticism and how Jesus did die in Japan, I just don't care. I guess Myers-Briggs is the one hippy-dippy woo-woo thing I'm into, where for some reason I do believe that there are cognitive functions, and I suppose the cognitive functions, you could tell me those are just angels, they are non-human entities, and if you believe in cognitive functions in Myers-Briggs, then you are hippy-dippy, you are woo-woo. Or if you believe that personality is real. Actually, no, that's more of a woo-woo thing to say, like Jim Carrey, he's a bit woo-woo, and he doesn't believe in personality. But overall, yeah, I'm, even though I'm not exactly a Chud Jack atheist on message board, or I'm not like an atheist twink on Jubilee. You know, I grew up Catholic, but I still find it very hard to believe in God. I'd like to, but I just don't seem to be able to. So I don't know, why do I want to be more woo-woo and still find it hard to be woo-woo? You can be as scientific and rational as you want, and you can read books and be very intellectual, and yet at the end of the day, if you're still living a sad life, if you're unable to connect to others, if you're unable to have proper friendships, if you're unable to be mentally healthy to some degree, like, what good are you doing for yourself? And that's why it's tempting to be more hippy-dippy woo-woo. You know, I like the idea of being a bit closer to nature, and not doing it in the gym bro sense, you know, like, it's a shame that my idea of going hiking makes me feel like, oh no, I don't want to be a coked up gym bro hiking due to an obsession with how productive it might make you. You know, I don't want to be that sort of person. I want to have a more spiritual feeling. I like the idea of going for a walk on a mountain and feeling a rush coming over you. You know, you might say I'm quite hippy-dippy due to a magic mushroom consumption that I've had. You might have thought that would be the easiest way to get hippy-dippy, but I don't know. I remember even then I was not woo-woo enough to properly acknowledge what mushrooms is good for. Like, I remember having a mushroom party with my INFJ friend. We worshipped his cat. We drank wine, we talked about people in our office that we knew when we weren't on mushrooms, we knew we despised these people. But once we were on mushrooms, we were like, I think we could love them. I think they are worthy of love. And we became very hippy woo-woo. Hippy-dippy, I should say, not hippy. And we were worshipping his cat. I mean, that's pretty woo-woo. But then the next day I just felt a bit flat when I was now like seeing my INFP friend and hanging around in Carlton and going out for lunch with him. I didn't feel hippy-dippy woo-woo at all. And then I was so skeptical of the mushroom experience that I felt like there was a way to replicate that experience without taking drugs. And I did. I went to the beach in Brighton, and I just did this long walk as the sun set, and I took, you know, lovely photos. And I walked home to where I was in Bentley at the time, and I felt like it was almost identical to being on mushrooms, the feeling of walking at night after 2 hours and letting your mind free. And then I was like, oh, hang on, if I can achieve this woo-woo state without resorting to drugs, then, you know, maybe it's just a thing that happens to your mind when you allow your mind to relax. Now, again, sounds like a woo-woo hippy-dippy thing to say. I know it makes me sound like a QAnon Trump supporter. Fuck, this is a bitter video. I'm a bit woo-woo. I want to be woo-woo. I want to be Christian woo-woo. I want to be astrology woo-woo. I want to be an Enneagram woo-woo. I want to be a flat earther. The problem is I just can't get my Like, even in the same way that I'm not a super logic bro or a debate bro, it's like all of these things, I just don't have the passion. I just don't care. I think because of Myers-Briggs and reading like Dario Nardi, I often feel like I've reduced, like I feel like personality type is actually neural pathways in your mind. I believe humans, what we think is spiritual is still just happening in our minds, and like it's all fine. But I feel like religion and woo-woo hippy dippy stuff is also part of being human. You can logic bro your way out of it, you can TI your way out of it, but at the end of the day you have to acknowledge that to be human there's a lot of stuff that we're kind of evolved to do. We're evolved to have meaning, let's say. And if hippy dippy woo-woo-ness is the way to get that meaning, I sort of think that's as fine as if being a logic bro is your way of finding meaning. So I sort of respect all these different avenues. I'm just a bit confused why I'm still not a Christian, why I haven't converted to Judaism, or Mahikari, the Japanese cult that believes that Jesus died in Japan and that Moses flew to Japan in a UFO. I just can't find myself believing it. On the other hand, why should I not believe that compared to the Christian story? Why, if I'm not like a conspiracy theorist or like a sort of alt-right type, like I was going outside without a face mask, I didn't care, you know, I just broke the curfew rules if I wanted, which makes me sound like a reactionary. But on the other hand, I wasn't like a skeptic against a lot of other things. I just don't care. I don't know what the point of this video is. But I guess I was just trying to offer an explanation about why I'm not more hippy dippy woo-woo, even though obviously in some ways I am. And you know, I've even got this magic crystal here. This is from someone who was quite woo-woo in Turkey. Got a magic feather. Do I believe they're magic? Not really. I don't feel magic from them, but I wish I did. I do not exist, no. I do not exist, no, 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 no. And then there's just a little bit more of that song that I wrote 2 minutes before pressing record on this camera. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and I'll see you next time.